The chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Gohmert, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and we're grateful to the witness for being here, even though I'm looking at you through the reporter there. Thank you. I just got a message from my friend, the governor of Texas, Rick Perry, indicating that they sort of feel like it'd be a good idea that if you're going to release previously convicted criminals, people who are at a high risk for repeat offenses, and that would include multiple DWIs, that they would really like to know that you're about to release those people in their states so they can give their law enforcement a heads up. Playing football back in high school as a quarterback, the lineman had sometimes what was known as a lookout block. If they screwed up so bad a guy got by them, they would at least have the decency to turn around and yell, "Look out." That was a lookout block. They didn't get their lookout. They didn't get the block. They didn't get the lookout in Texas. Are there some requirements that you notify the state and local authorities or state or local authorities when you allow criminals and suspected criminals to go free from detention?
There are no blanket notification requirements.
So unless we put it in the law, you don't even give a lookout. Here come these folks.
Generally speaking, the notification that we will give is where we can through the victim notification system. Remember, we're not part of the
victim notification, but not necessarily to the local law enforcement or the governor's office.
That's correct.
Because I can assure you, if you notify the governor's office, they're going to let the local law enforcement know. That would be a good place to start, but it sounds like we're going to need to put that in the law. Well, I tell you, I was staggered to hear my friend Zoe Lofgren from California talk about the greatest number of convictions, of federal convictions that this administration has are for federal, which is a felony, reentry after deportation. I was staggered to hear that. And Mr. Morton, if there is anything that comes out of this hearing that shocks the conscience, it is that the number one biggest problem in this administration of a federal felony nature is the reentry by deported illegal immigrants after they've been deported. Now, as a district judge in Texas, it was an ongoing problem. I had one guy with 9 DWIs, never would be deported, was constantly reported to the federal authorities. This was when Bill Clinton was president. And finally, he hit somebody again, and he came before my court because that bumped it up to being a felony. So I understand it. And as I've asked before, when people have testified, yes, we took him to the border and released him, I often want to know, did you stick around long enough to watch them come across the border, or did you immediately drive away after you had dropped them off? This is a huge problem, and I'm just curious, with each one of these federal felony convictions, it means we're paying for a prosecutor, we're paying for law enforcement to get these people, then a prosecutor, we're paying for a defense attorney for them, we're paying for the offices for the prosecutor, the officers for the law enforcement, the offices for the judges, the offices for the appellate courts, and the number one conviction is for federal felony reentry after they've been deported. When I start thinking about that fact, it becomes pretty clear the best thing this administration could do for this country is secure the border so they don't have to keep recatching the people that have already been deported. To heck with how much a wall costs or drone coverage, whatever it takes. Your administration, and this message should go up to the president, this administration should do everything they can to secure the border so that the number one source of convictions is no longer felony reentry after you've deported people. And then you think about the money that would be saved by those who don't have their house burglarized by criminals that have been deported and have come back in. People who have not been raped, or cars that have not damaged in traffic accidents by criminals that have been deported, but we don't secure our border, so they come right back in. So if any message comes out of this, I would implore you, please send a message to this administration. You want to save money, Mr. President. You want to save money, Secretary Napolitano. Secure the border, and we'll have all the savings they'll ever need. And I appreciate you're doing that, if you will. Would you pass a message on such as that?
I'd be happy to note your statements here today.
The chair recognizes, the chair thanks the gentleman from Texas.